Hi, my name is Alex. Welcome to part 2 of my Knights to Mughals challenge. My sincere thanks to everyone who has commented in the previous video answering the question. You guys helped me define the future of this channel. My current thinking, based on the comments, is to both continue my large-scale grand campaigns, like full world conquest or mission tree runs, and also sprinkle in shorter videos dedicated to achievements, some interesting ideas, and so on. Let's see how it goes, and thank you once again. Also, I wanted to mention, I am absolutely touched, humbled, and encouraged by the support you are showing in the comments. This is a small channel, and for me it's a work of love. I have been playing Europa Universalis since its launch in 2000. When I came to Japan for work, a friend loaned me a disc with Europa Universalis to entertain myself over the weekend, and I have been hooked ever since. Okay, let's get going with this campaign. Our objective today is to form the Mughals, going from a one-province minor with non-accepted culture to a country which accepts all cultures in the world. As I keep conquering the Mediterranean coastline, there is less and less provinces for me to loot. To continue making money from raiding, I need to get to more coastal heathen provinces soonish. For now, because I took some provinces from the Mamluks, I have opened the raiding route into the Red Sea. Eventually, I think the Suez Canal will be helpful. I was a bit overextended after my last war and had to handle a lot of rebels. And before declaring on the Mamluks again, I waited for my course to finish. I don't see the enemy armies, so I've decided to put one of my armies to auto-siege, just because I'm lazy. The problem is, the auto-sieging armies are generally really afraid of the enemy. They would avoid the enemy provinces, even if they have just 1000 enemy troops in them. Just something to note. They have just a few forts, and a couple of years later we can peace out for 97% war score of provinces. I don't think I had a single battle, maybe my allies did. This time we are not even overextended. Happy days. I just noticed, the Pope had the crusade announced against the Mamluks. This must have made our troops stronger. Maybe that's why they were hiding from us. A slave trade event. I'm sorry, even in the game it feels morally wrong to me to support it. I am not converting anything in this game yet, and my papal influence is not growing at all, or that's what it feels like. I am not even trying to become the papal controller. I am bordering very few countries right now, and as you can see, I keep rotating my wars among 3 or 4 opponents. I can't wait to fight my way out of this and come out to have some operating freedom. I have also boxed myself a little bit by allying Muscovy, Austria-Hungary and Venice, so I literally can only go south and east. Eventually also North Africa, but right now I have truces there. Anyway, my strategic direction remains the same, Persia and then India. A quick and clean war this one. We invaded, disabled their armies and occupied some land. I can now return course to my vassals, Iraq and Armenia, and take some lands to myself to connect my territories. I am trying to expand coalition free. I hate getting bogged down in those massive coalition wars, so I'm letting the allies go just for money, and I keep improving my relations with the potential coalition members. I am also trying to expand by reconquering the cores of my vassals. When I annex my current vassals, I can release new ones for more conquest. This monument in Cairo gives us faster institution spread, more advisors and cheaper ideas. It's not the best, but I do have the spare cash to upgrade it. Ooh, Armenia has a lot of claims on QQ. Maybe I should keep them as my vassal until the next war. You may remember, in part 1, I did mention that Venice may become eventually my adversary. They helped me a great deal early on, but now our interests are in conflict. I caught the moment when their biggest ally, Castile, will not come to their help. After Epirus, I think it's my second war against a fellow Catholic. Even though my goal is to form Mughals, I want to stay true to my Catholic heritage, and to easily flip back to Catholic, I will need a fair amount of Catholic lands. In other words, 100 years into the game, the age of love and understanding with my Catholic neighbors is over. Along with my allies, we quickly overpowered Venice and its tiny friends, and soon they were left alone. At this point, I still care about avoiding coalitions. Luckily, a lot of provinces I'm taking now are remote and their own culture from most of Europe. I have also decided to release a one-province Dalmatia from Venice. I'm hoping to diplo-vassalize them. But I'm also aware I may be making a mistake. Russia had put a guarantee on the Ottomans. Strong AI countries frequently do it to their weaker neighbors. But I think they have horrible relations among themselves, and Russia will not join if I attack the Ottomans. If I'm not off with my counting, this is my war number 5 against them. I look forward to the day when I no longer have to fight them. But this day is not today. They will still exist after this war. I am prioritizing their lands in my core trade node. Unless Russia eats them up, I should be able to take them out in the next war. And now, my friends, we have fulfilled one of the most critical missions of our mission 3. We have unlocked the event, turning us into the Latin Empire. This is the third time we can change our national ideas using this Crusader mission tree. This feels pretty unique to me. We get this surprising yellow color. And this time I decided to switch to the Latin ideas, just for the role-playing purposes. They do have one helpful idea, which I like, which reduces the unjustified demands and the war score against other religions. They also give us a stronger cavalry. Oh, my eyes, I need to get used to all this yellow. A small Georgia has popped out from QQ. That's an immediate war declaration before they can get any allies. As soon as our overextension allows it, we annex them. You probably know that in my games I like to get the professionalism of my armies as high as possible. It's like getting an entire military idea set, while also rolling for good generals. Meanwhile, we have vassalized Cyprus, annexed Iraq, and prepared for our next war with the Mamluks. None of my many allies are willing to join this time. That's perfectly okay though, I can take both the Mamluks and their allies on my own. Usually, this area is quite a bit more consolidated at this time. Either the Mamluks or most likely the Ottomans conquer it all. Today, because I have smashed them, the Arabian Peninsula, East Africa and the Persian lands are a collection of small nations. This means two things for me: one, potentially faster expansion, and two, a very serious danger of a coalition. The last thing I want to do is to be stopped or slowed down by it, and it may make sense to focus my conquest on these Arabian Muslim lands, just to take them out of the game. If I start fighting recklessly on many fronts, I may have everyone from all directions joining the coalition against me. Let's see how it goes this time. I have cancelled a couple of estate privileges, as you saw just now. I was protecting the Orthodox autonomy. That was good for my religious unity, but it didn't allow me to convert the Orthodox lands. And as I move closer to the Mughal lands, I need to start building a good balance between my Muslim and Catholic development, as close to 50-50 as I can get. This action has absolutely dropped my religious unity to 25%. I need to brace myself for some rebellions until I can grow it back up. As you see here, for my third idea group, I've taken administrative. Normally, I would take religious in this situation, but my government type allows me Deus Vult without taking it. And there. To be honest, this war was a bit messy. It involved a lot of running around chasing all the little armies. But now it's done, and best of all, I can fully annex the Mamluks. The potential coalition of Muslim nations against me keeps growing. I am surprised this coalition hasn't formed yet. It may have something to do with the strong allies I have on my side. And well, we have fulfilled the Kingdom of Heaven mission. For 20 years it will give us the missionary strength, and we need it now, to convert all those Orthodox provinces in the west. And it gives us a lot of claims. Now, we have conquered most of this land already, but these claims will make it cheaper for us to core them. This mission also gives us claims and some papal influence until the end of the game. After swallowing up all what remained of Egypt, we are now overextended almost 130%. I will need to build up some nice mental resilience for all those rebels coming up. During my previous war with Mamelukes, I vassalized Hadramut, this green nation down here in the south. I did it because they have claims on the entirety of Oman, and now I can reconquer that land for very little aggressive expansion. That's one thing I'm doing during all these wars. I am always checking for the unused cores so I can expand by vassal feeding. During this war, I'm spending more time and effort fighting the rebels from my overextension, rather than the enemy who is really weak. This peace deal doesn't take a lot of war score. I don't want to mess with Afghanistan just yet, so I'm just taking Oman for my vassal. Russia wants me to join their war against Kazan. I am intentionally giving Russia the possibility to call me into their wars because I want to accrue favors with them. I need them on my side to ward off the coalition. Now, there is a long-term problem from this. Every nation who allies me will do really well in this game. No one will attack them because I will defend them. So they go into a series of offensive wars. Imagine how big Russia will become and how many wars it will take me to conquer them if I decide to do so. By the way, we are now by far the #1 power in the world. However, many other nations are developing quite nicely. So if we want to ever play until the late game, we will have a lot of powerful opponents. Well, it's now time for our next war. Per my vassal feeding strategy, I had taken one province where I can release Luristan and then use its cores to attack Ajam. Depending on how many provinces I want to take in the end, a holy war could actually be better in this case. I am very well aware that if I conquer the Ottomans here to the north of Crimea, Russia may get angry with me, so I have been very diligent to grow my trust with them. At this moment, it's 85%, I want to bring it all the way to 100. Let's see, I hope Russia doesn't break their alliance with me just yet. Fighting them will take me away from my goal of forming the Mughals, for which I need to conquer Persia and push my way into India. Apparently there was a crusade declared against the tiny Ottomans. I guess the Pope is running out of options of who to crusade against. Now, if I were going for the world conquest, then instead of spending my time and resources conquering all these low development lands in the Near East, I would be pushing my way into Russia and Western Europe. Right now, I'm allowing some very strong nations to form, as I saw from my list of the great powers. In some way, I'm playing against my own instincts right now. As for Ajam, yep, I should have declared the Holy War. Without it, this peace deal costs me almost 200 diplomatic mana. I have managed to overextend myself again with this peace deal, so at least Luristan will be helpful to take some coring load off me. There, like this is fine I think. This way I still have borders with a few countries to my east to continue my expansion. The good news is we have approached the lands we need to form the Mughals. We are getting closer to our objective by the day now. Another piece of good news is that although these provinces generally have low development, they are good for trade. We are starting to dominate some nice trade nodes, and as such, we already have 7 merchants. I am trying to stop as much trade in Constantinople as I can. It was for this reason that I conquered some land in the Ragusa trade node, and I have just started collecting there to stop the leakage of my trade farther west. In my games, I never know what would be the magically best trade setup. Each game plays out differently in this sense, so I'm constantly experimenting to optimize my trade. You see, depending on the positioning and the tasks you give your merchants, the difference in your monthly income can be massive. We start making even more money when we core everything up and stop being overextended. After we embrace the printing press institution, we can take the next technology, unlocking another idea set. For my 4th idea group in this game, I'm taking influence. This way, I can further bring down the cost of unjustified demands, and it will help me overall with my vassal management. After this brief period of peace, dedicated to making our nation even stronger, we can keep rolling with our wars. I am declaring on Karakayunlu because they're now in the middle of my lands, and Russia, once again, will not protect the country they have guaranteed. In fact, they will join on my side against the country they have guaranteed. I am not sure how this works. The reason I invited Russia into this war is because I did not want them to declare separately on Karakayunlu or any of the small countries. I need to block their progress down south into Persia. Fars is my obvious next expansion target. I did not co-belligerate them, so I'm not taking any of their land. I simply want them to drop their friends and give me some money. And this is our final peace deal here. We are taking a lot of land, and we are making quite a few countries upset with us. Even after I concentrated development in all of these provinces, I am still overextended. I have had to fight so many rebels so far. My rebel tolerance is at its lowest ever. I prefer to keep feeding Luristan to get rid of my overextension. After this, we immediately attack Yemen before they can join any coalition against us. I am very impressed with my vassal Hadramut. They must have completed some missions because they have a lot of claims on Yemen. Oh, Austria, now you want me to fight Venice? Don't you see I'm busy sieging all these forts in the desert and losing a lot of my soldiers to attrition? Anyway, this is a good peace deal, isn't it? We get a lot of land in a nice trade node. We get massively overextended again. You probably can see my logic now that I keep expanding around the same vassals so I can feed them. I prefer to have a couple of strong vassals, whom I can annex when the time comes, instead of a lot of smaller ones. Annexing each vassal drops relations with all the remaining ones, and eventually it becomes difficult to annex them. I need to be at peace to feed Hadramut, so I made my separate peace with Venice. They can keep all this land for now and core it for me. And now we are not overextended at all. I've skipped ahead 5 years or so. All I did was clean up some tiny nations in the middle of my lands. I'm now going against Tunisia to improve my trade in the Mediterranean. I simply noticed how weak they are, and because of their strategic position, I couldn't pass this opportunity. You could argue I'm now going west instead of east, but this will make me stronger. If we do our standard check of development progress versus time, then now, in 1582, we have more than 2000 development. We are about 20 years ahead of schedule for the world conquest. Of course, this time, we are not going for one. This was a super easy war. I am only taking the coast and some forts. I am quite happy to have taken this land before the Iberian nations can come here. It's very unusual to see both Granada and Aragon survive as independent nations this late into the game. I guess Castile has spent a lot of resources fighting France. Let's see what we got here. A base in Africa. We have completed our missions related to the Barbary pirates. We get a lot of permanent claims, and until the end of the game, we'll get better morale of navies and ship trade power. I've set a diplomat to fabricate claims on Granada. I cannot pass that monument now that I see it's available. And we come back to our expansion to the east. Russia will help us fight Transoxiana while we take Fars. As soon as this claim is complete, we attack Granada. What is happening? They have no allies. Why is Castile so passive? And the moment has come. 150 years after the start of the game, we have become the papal controller for the first time. Now we can fully enjoy being a Catholic in-game. I think I got a dopamine boost from this. And now we finalize our conquests in a series of peace agreements. I've been greedy and I'm overextended again, but this time I don't think I will release anyone, I'll just wing it. I need to own these provinces directly for my progress. I've released Morocco there in North Africa, because Morocco has a lot of cores, and now it seems like it's the only land which is not rebelling. I've spent a good few years fighting rebels literally everywhere. While I was busy elsewhere, Timurids have grown a lot here in the east. They are allied to so many nations, including the Bahmanis, who occupy most of India. So I decided to fight the Timurids by attacking their ally, the one province minor Mazandaran. Look at all these bold colors here. Bright yellow, bright red, bright green. I feel like I'm in a children's playground. You know what, guys, my PC ran out of disk space while I was recording, and I lost a segment with a few years of gameplay. I believe all I did there was break all the alliances for the Timis and the next Mazandaran. I have also integrated some vassals like Loristan. At any rate, now we're ready for the next war, with the Timurids directly. They have made some new alliances, of course, but these are small compared to what they used to have. My recent favorite vassal, Hadramut, also gets integrated as we start this war. They were really helpful. This war with the Timurids wasn't so much difficult as it was spread out in terms of territory. They do have very fast armies, so there was a lot of running around involved. Look, this is the power of having the diplomatic ideas with the upgraded Malta monument, along with the Age of Reformation bonus. We have taken 245 overextension in a single war. My rebel tolerance has left the chart a long time ago. I am going to release a vassal here. Khorasan looks good to me. 10 years later, I can annex them. Meanwhile, I will feed them quite a lot of lands. We have filled out both the admin and influence ideas. Annexing them will be relatively cheap. There, this looks good to me. Since I've been doing a lot of conversion to balance out my religious development, we get another magnificent day, our second time as the Curia controller. Of course, this means even cheaper annexation. Russia wants me to fight who? Sarik Yogir. They are pushing into Tibet and China. I didn't notice when, but in one of my peace deals, I apparently got a colony in the Spice Islands, which is eerily devoid of colonizers. The locals there keep rebelling, and I can do nothing about it. The best way probably is simply to abandon them. The Age of Absolutism begins, so we'll lose the 20% war score bonus against the other religions. That's a pity, I was just getting started. We keep going at a very good expansion pace. In 1610, we have more than 3000 development. Not too bad after starting as a tiny island next to the Ottomans. We now begin our usual dance in preparation for the court and country disaster, cancelling the estate privileges and trying to grow our absolutism. I've lost control over my nobility influence. It's currently way too high. I can't withdraw any privileges. We will soon be shifting our primary culture to Persian, and because I have been gradually developing my Persian provinces, the Persian culture is already 23% of my development. I cannot convert anything to Persian yet, however, because all those provinces are recently conquered and they still have separatism. To become Mughals, we will need a few provinces from Delhi. I cannot quite reach Delhi yet, but I can reach Sistan, who is allied to them, and that's the war we declare. Even though I have 100% war score, I have to take the provinces by giving the occupation to Khorasan. They don't have all the war score reductions which I have, so I can take very little land. It seems I need to annex Khorasan in a hurry. We take what we can, making Delhi weaker is already a good achievement. After I form Mughals, I will lose my special government, giving me the Deus Vult Casus Belli. I will also finally start converting all my wrong religion provinces, and as my next idea group, I'm taking religious. In principle, I could have taken humanist to reduce the amount of revolts I'm getting, and revolts have been driving me up the wall this entire game. Then I could expand using the Mughal claims on India, and eventually through the imperialism CB. But most of India is occupied by a single country right now, and I will be locked in long truces after each war. You have seen that I like to play aggressively almost all the time, so religious it is. As my first age ability, I'm taking the harsh treatment discount. Since I have a lot of rebels, I can harsh treat them to pump up my absolutism. Khorasan gets annexed, and we can keep going with our plan. The Timis once again have allied half of the Orient, and once again I'm choosing to attack them via their ally. As for our religious situation, we obviously have enough Muslim provinces for a religion switch. My problem is I don't have enough Catholic provinces now to switch back to being Catholic. We can get around the situation both by conversions and by giving the wrong religion land to our vassals. The reason I want to become Catholic again as Mughals is very simple. I will lose my theocracy government and I will be able to make royal marriages with the Christians. And I just want to see if I can get any strong PUs after that. My friend Russia is now fighting Ham and Shun. They're really going after China. I keep joining their wars because I feel grateful to them. Because of their alliance with me, a coalition has never formed. I am now upgrading this monument in Nizva because it gives +10 maximum absolutism. I will need that for my court and country disaster. And I stubbornly keep withdrawing privileges whenever I can. In result of our victory, we expand our holdings here in Persia. I have already switched my culture to Persian as primary. I have shifted most of my stated lands to the Near East, and it makes sense to readjust the accepted cultures a little bit. I don't want to fight all of Delhi's allies, and I only need a few provinces from them. I decided to fight them once again via Sistan. I don't want to drag this war out without any reason. I just need a few provinces and to break off their biggest alliances. I now have pretty much everything I need to form Mughals. The only thing holding me back is the religious balance. I have been converting every non-Sunni province to Catholic. I still need a few more Catholic lands. As for Sistan, we have no use for them anymore and can annex them. All we need to do to become Mughals now is to full state Delhi and switch to being Sunni. Before switching religions, I took whatever bonuses I could take from the Curia. And from my millions of rebel factions, I found the Sunni zealots. All we need to do now is accept their demands. And, enchanted by the mysteries of the Orient, our Catholic Crusader state has joined the Muslim community. It's been a long way from our little island, and in 1636 we can form the Mughal Empire. We of course take their traditions and ideas, because they are objectively stronger. One unfortunate thing which happened is we lost the Western unit type. Becoming Mughals forces you into the Indian military. This, I have to say, is objectively weaker, because if we want to fight Europe now, we will have to do it with weaker units. This here is the biggest point of difference of being Mughals, the Divan culture assimilation mechanics. You can see here on the left all the cultures which have become accepted. To accept a culture, all you need to do is to conquer 100% of its provinces. And here on the right is what happens when you assimilate an entire culture group. It starts giving you permanent bonuses. Now, when Mughals were first introduced a few years ago, this was overpowered. But there has been so much power creep in the recent updates that most of these bonuses now feel kinda average. For now, we obviously have the Muslim interactions here, but that's going to change soon, and we are no longer a theocracy, we have become an Indian sultanate. We now have to choose our government reforms all over again. I suspect a lot of these choices will change again when we become Catholic. This will be a little project on its own, because less than 50% of our provinces are Catholic. And finally, we got ourselves an entirely new mission tree. It is not bad, although it does feel a little bit dated. It culminates in 10% administrative efficiency from the Viceroyalty of Deccan mission. I hope the Bahmanis don't form Deccan. That will make my life a little bit more complex. But from what I see, they already have most of the land required to form Deccan. We get a few new estates as well. Because I'm going to change my religion, I'm not going to go too deep into them. The only estate which really interests me are the Rajputs. They give a very nice special military unit. What I absolutely love now is because most of my cultures are now fully accepted. A lot of rebel factions are now losing power. If everything goes well, they should soon disappear. Alright, let's start our transition back to Catholicism. The way to do it, once again, will be to generate religious rebels and accept their demands. The Reformation in this campaign has been incredibly weak. Most of Europe is still Catholic. For the first time since forever, the list of rebels takes less than 1 page. I am now in a rebel nirvana. I am also at war with Ethiopia down here, because one way to change the balance of religions is to conquer some different religion land. I usually try to take most of their forts. In the end, I decided to go the simplest route and release a large vassal in my non-Catholic provinces. And who could be a better vassal than the Ottomans? Still below 50%. We'll fix this over time. Right now, I am even struggling to provoke the religious rebels. I gave the Ottomans a little bit more land and went on with my regular military activities, against the Timurids in this case. There is a simple reason why I went with a no-CB war. I need to destabilize my country for the court and country disaster. And after developing some Catholic provinces and destroying development in some Muslim ones, we can accept the demands of the Christian rebels. And boom, we are Catholic again. We can now increase our missionary maintenance back to 100% to start converting our provinces. We have kept our most important tier 2 government reform, the Mughal Divan. This reform drives the culture assimilation mechanics. As for all the other government reforms, now they're simply the generic Christian monarchy ones. This suits me very well, because I want to marry all my Christian allies and try to get some personal unions. I have now completed the objective of this video. We are the Christian Mughals. And from now, I just want to have some fun. I played ahead for a few evenings and just recorded myself goofing around without going for the world conquest. This was the result in 1757, after a few wars in India, China and Africa. We even got a couple of colonial nations going here. Most importantly though, we have France, Austria and Aragon as junior partners under our personal unions. And I have to say, I quite like these Rajput regiments, with more morale, cheaper reinforcement and less drill loss. Not that I bother drilling in this game, of course. The color, which I don't even know how to call, is it purple? It sort of fits the bright chemical palette of this campaign, with the bright yellow before and the deep green we have now. And this is our country in 1802. Notably, we have PU'd Poland, finalized most of our mission tree and fought several wars against our major opponents, dramatically cutting them all in size. Like I said, after forming Mughals, I wasn't playing optimally at all. Normally by this time I would finish my world conquest already. I claimed the military hegemony, which is what I usually do, and you can see the final roster of the greatest powers. I hope you enjoyed following this campaign. From my side, I had a lot of fun, simply fooling around, changing tags and religions, and exploring the mechanics of Mughals. It's a super powerful country which deserves a proper playthrough. For now, thank you for watching and see you in the next video.